Welcome. You've splash landed into this prosecco-laden podcast, straight into the woo-woo pool with the crew of Ohm-g. We're just a simple group of tragically imperfect and highly empathic BFFs, exploring a wide range of atypical topics with humor, grace, and curiosity. This is Ohm-g. Hello and welcome. We've got a very scary topic to throw at y'all today. A hairy man? A myth? Or a magical squatch? He pops up around December 5th. His name is Krampus. You're listening to the crew of
Ohm-g, the podcast. Welcome back, y'all.
Hi there, guys. It's Brenda Sue here.
It's Chandra here. Sorry.
It's Aaron here.
And Lynn.
And Camille.
Who wants to kick off this conversation about this devilly creature?
Who knows the most about him? Because it isn't me.
No, it isn't me either.
I am curious.
It's not me either, but I'm fascinated. I feel like it's sort of like the Bigfoot episode where I am listening and I'm just like a kid in a candy store. So I'm excited to learn more about Krampus.
Well, so he's become so much a part of the story because the kids, you had to be good for Santa to come and leave you presents. But if you were bad, you just didn't get any presents. There was no incentive other than one gift, one night, one of every year,
right?
To be good all year. So you had to have this goat demon man that came and hauled you away or beat you with a birch stick or, whatever.
Or took you to hell or ate you or something delightful.
So it was the punishment if you had been bad. I mean, I see it as kind of like everything that has a light has to have a balance, has to have a dark side, if you will. So, I mean, I think the imagery of him persists just because, it'd be crazy to have one without something to counterbalance it.
Right.
Is he the yang to Santa's yin?
Absolutely, he is.
I dig it.
Twin flames all the way.
Yeah, they rode together in the little car. I have an ornament that has St. Nicholas
and
Krampus in it. So they teamed up and would work together. And so when Santa would leave the good kids their stuff, if they weren't good, like Krampus would come in.
That is so cute.
I hope you brought an ornament for everyone.
The ornament, I love, because he's like St. Nicholas is in a little sidecar, like on a motorcycle. That's adorable.
Look at this one.
Okay.
This one is really scary. The Krampus has a very long tongue. He looks sort of like the Christian devil.
Yeah.
And he's putting this child in a box.
Well, somebody's got to do it,
said the teacher.
Yeah. And he's carrying him away because obviously he was a little hellion.
Yeah, he looks like one.
He does.
Look at his haircut. Just a waiting to grow up and be an asshole.
But do y'all know that like in 1932, Krampus was prohibited in Austria. Like they said no more because they was afraid that the children's mental health was suffering because he was so scary.
What? And this is why, back to a previous episode, I think maybe a year or two ago, we talked about holiday traditions around Yule and Christmas and the New Year. Camille and Chandra, one of their favorite pastimes is to get together, dressed up as Krampus, and run through Chandra's neighborhood, scaring off the children. It brings us all delight.
It's a public service.
That's right. If that won't stuff your stocking, I don't know what will.
Well, that's another episode.
That's a whole nother episode.
So it's interesting to me how they have Saint Nicholas, who was a saint in the Catholic Church, I believe, and then they have this Krampus who is shown as like the devil and the bad one. So it's kind of that whole fight that we've had our entire existence of the light and dark, the good and the bad, the devil and the Jesus.
Right. I was listening to some podcast or YouTube video or whatever, but ADHD time. Don't ask me to say who it was or what the topic was about. But the point that they made was there is no such thing as good and there is no such thing as bad. Think of it as a battery. One end is positive, one end is negative, but they're poles of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have one without the other, but they're the same thing. So nothing is inherently good or inherently bad. It's just, where are you more attracted?
And they both serve a really important purpose.
Right. And I was like, oh, never thought about it that way. That was kind of ingenious.
It's interesting too. I think about like what Brenda was saying back to religion and like the concept of like fearing God, or even with Santa. Like, I mean, as a kid, like my mom, I think would say like, if y'all aren't good, Santa's not going to bring you, da, 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 da. It's like, girl, yes, he will. Okay. But also the, like, I don't know. There's that thing of like when you're a kid, but it flows into adulthood too, of fear needing to be instilled in you in order to do the right thing, the quote unquote right thing, or the quote unquote good thing. And so it's interesting to see Krampus kind of be used in that way to kind of scare kids into behaving or being good.
Yeah. And from what I read about Krampus, he predated Christianity, which is fascinating to me.
Right. And like Camille mentioned, St. Nicholas, Santa came on Krampus night, which was December 5th originally. And so the kids would actually leave shoes outside the house. And Santa would leave gifts in their shoes. So that's kind of where we got the stocking thing from. But yeah, Santa would leave the gifts in the shoes, and then they'd go outside the next morning to see if they had a gift. Well, Krampus came on December 6th. So if you went outside and you did not have anything in your shoe, you knew Krampus was coming tonight.
To beat you with sticks.
To beat you with sticks and drag you to hell and eat you and whatever else it was legend that he did. It wasn't until, like you said, that Saint Nicholas came into being that they started to lump all of the rituals or whatever you want to call it together and make it more of a religious. That's when they moved it to December 25th. So that, so it could align.
Right.
And now I think it's like a drunken fest, right? Like they dress up and they run through the streets.
And in Austria, it's called Krampuslauf.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's like Mardi Gras for Krampus.
I watch it every year. There's like on YouTube, you can pull it up and you can watch the Krampus run, and they try to scare people. Like they're all dressed up, and it's quite entertaining.
It's like 100 Krampuses running through the middle of the street. And you never know which one's going to come at you. It's really cool.
Oh my gosh. That sounds, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to be there, but it sounds like I would want to watch the video of it. Like that sounds cool.
I think Krampus would probably fit in with us, because one other thing I found when I was doing some research on Krampus is that it's customary to offer him schnapps.
He'd fit in just fine.
I'd cross the pond for that.
And
or less.
I have a point to make, but let me take a moment and put on my bucket list and Camille's bucket list, Krampus run before we die. I found this in one place, so I don't know if it's like a prevailing story or if it was just somebody made it up or whatever. But I found in one place where it said if the children offered him apples or oranges, that he would turn polite and sit down and have a conversation with them and not beat them and drag them to hell. So all you had to do was like have fruit in the house and offer it to him, and he would not do the things he came to do. So, but I've only found reference to that one time, so I'm not really sure if it's legit. But I thought, I'd be nice for oranges.
Yeah, interesting too that like that it originated with Saint Nicholas bringing kids apples or oranges or like fruits and putting in their shoes, and Krampus is like, the kid that never had Christmas, little fella.
Maybe he's a Grinch.
He might be a Grinch,
He might be. I have a Grinch costume, just so y'all know.
Oh, Lynn.
You know I do.
Of course you do.
Our faces are falling in shock right now. Not.
The Grinch is my favorite. I have the dating myself, the VHS tape so I can watch it all year.
I also have a Grinch Christmas tree. Just so you know.
I love we'll have to do an episode on the Grinch sometime.
And Lynn will dress up.
I will dress up.
Yes. We'll have to video record that one.
And Aaron will sing the Whoville song.
Yeah.
I told you, I knew he could do it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like we need to do an episode of just like Lynn's house around the holidays. Like each room is so, not to divulge from Krampus, but like each, for Halloween and Samhain, it is so pretty. Like there's just witchy shit everywhere. And
It's a series, not an episode.
Mhm.
It's a series.
You have to go room by room by room.
Truly. I just can't wait to see it around Christmas time. Like, see all your Yule things.
I think I'm going to have to buy a new tree, though, because now I'm going to have to do a full Krampus tree to celebrate.
And stand around it. Oh, Krampus tree. Oh, Krampus tree.
Yeah.
Come beat me with your branches.
You have to water it with children's tears. You know, just pour it into the base.
You have my attention.
That's right.
Like you keep drawing me in. You're drawing me in. But the word Krampus comes from Krampen, which is a German word, and it means the claw or the son of the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, how menacing is that?
Very, but also like badass. Like, what a name to put on a resume, you know? Like, next we'll have Son of the Underworld for the marketing position, you know? Like,
Mr. Claw, Mr. Krampen the Claw.
I have my menstrual Krampus. Oh no, I'm staying home.
exactly. Calling into work, Krampus.
Mhm.
I think that's an excellent excuse. I need to use that sometime.
You're just feeling all like, I just want to drag somebody to hell and put them in a bag and beat them with a stick.
Yeah, and so you have to call into work because, you can't do that. So everybody should be afraid of you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I like it.
As if I needed more ideas. I've had several blackouts recently where I have a moment where I see myself as that teacher on the news, you know, like, and lost his job because he strangled a student. You know, it's like, well, she had it coming, you know, like, it's kind of bigger than me, y'all.
We're going to tell the story. Let's tell the whole story. Let's back up 5 steps and tell the whole story.
Roll the tape, Judith.
Right.
We need both sides. I guess I'm interested, and maybe we could take a quick break and kind of come back with this question, but about like, you know, U.S. traditions related to Krampus, or how the lore of Krampus sort of translated into Christmas and Yule, and from Germanic and pagan traditions into like.
That's a great question. So,
things.
Yeah, let's get into that after this quick break.
Your heart knows what it wants. So do your taste buds. Fall in love with new Haagen-Dazs chocolate cookie crumble bar. That's Dazs. Available at retailers nationwide.
You could get him another tie or coffee mug. Or this Father's Day, you could present Dad with grittier gifts that bring a grin to any grill master, Mr. Fix-It, or wild man's face. Duluth Trading has the tools and apparel for all his work stuff, outdoor stuff, and under stuff. From legendarily tough fire hose pants to easy-breathing barbecue shirts to crazy comfortable buck-naked underwear, get on over to DuluthTrading.com or visit a store to score pop-pleasing gifts today.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Go to Blinds.com for up to 45% off. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
All right, guys. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Welcome back to our Merry Krampus Christmas episode. And before we took a...
Chris Mahana Kwanzaa.
Yeah. So just so you know, during the break, Lynn's over here like fangirling over Krampus.
We're not even going to repeat.
We're not even going to repeat what she said. She's
getting flustered. She's having to ban herself.
So if you've ever seen an image of him, you probably can guess what we were talking about. Anywho, before we went to break, Aaron asked a great question about how does Krampus show up in like U.S. traditions. And I don't know that I really, other than just like morbid curiosity, I didn't find anything that linked to the two.
Yeah.
Like anything that we still do. I think it's kind of like somebody's found out about the legend, right? And made a movie about it, or like we were introduced through just because they thought, oh, that's scary. That's neat. That's something that not a lot of people really know about. So it'll have an impact.
Right.
I don't know that that's the case. I just theorizing, but
I think the scariest thing is that we get cold. from Santa Claus if we're bad. So they've dumbed it down a lot. That's all I want to say.
I know, how lazy and traumatic for the coal miners. You know what I mean? Like those children that are in there, their faces just soot, and then they wake up, they're like, more of it! Christmas, it's not. It's really messed up.
So messed up.
I digress.
Oh Lord.
I mean, other than the movie, has anybody else seen a reference to it?
I have not.
In our traditions?
Not in our tradition.
Yeah, I think just
only that I did read that Krampus does sometimes bring coal to the bad children. So I think
that's how all gotten.
It got kind of crossed up with Saint Nicholas, our patron saint of children.
Right.
Bringing the devil with him.
Right.
But Brenda, you were saying something about that in a lot of things that you read, there were people who were assuming that the legend came out of pagan tradition.
Right. I was listening to a woman who did a video on YouTube, and she was with NPR, and she talked about how that's a misconception that actually came along with Christianity, which doesn't surprise me at all because the church is, always trying to scare you into something.
Well, Krampus looks a lot like they depict
the devil.
The devil.
Yeah.
Satan, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, in what I was reading, I found a story where the origins for Krampus came from mythology. So the goddess of immortality and nature, I think I'm saying this right, Sybil, found her lover cheating on her. And so she takes him out into the woods because she's the goddess of nature, right? And she castrates him.
Exactly.
And ties him to a tree. Yeah. She castrates him and ties him to a tree and leaves him there to think about what he's done, right?
Take your wood. Here's more wood.
And so as he's laying there or sitting there, he's thinking about what he's done to her, and he is overcome with just mad at himself, whatever. He's overcome, and he commits suicide. And so when she goes back to check on him, he's dead. And so being the goddess of immortality, she puts his soul into the tree, and she brings the tree into her home.
Yeah, she said, "You're not getting off that easy, baby."
No, so she put his spirit in the tree so he would have everlasting life. So that's where we get evergreen.
Ooh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and the whole tree metaphor is kind of like he beat you with birch branches or whatever. So that was just one of the things that I was reading, that it was I also had a mythological origin of here's where it started, and it's led to Krampus.
I think most of our traditions probably come from mythology.
Yeah. I think when I started Googling some things about Krampus earlier in the week, and I didn't get much of it done because this week's been crazy, but one of the very first things I saw was him described as or defined as an anthropomorphic horned being or something like that. And I was like, oh wow, what a phrase.
He's horny.
He's horny. Join the club.
Oh, the way these conversations devolve.
Yeah, I know. But that's interesting too, just with thinking about the other traditions of trees and decorating them and bringing them into your house. And then I don't know. I think it's just a really cool story.
Yeah. But like we were talking about earlier, all of these creatures have been created to, like you said, put children in fear. Even the tooth fairy. But if you're not good, then you won't get the money, or you won't get as much money or whatever. Right. Or the amount of money that you get is going to be determined on how good you are. The tooth fairy is going to come and take your tooth, but if you haven't been good, you won't get as much money. Easter bunny.
Yeah.
I mean, things that are not as dark in appearance as Krampus, but it's still to keep a thumb on the children, and because everything goes back to trauma. But I mean, in order to be good, you have to not show your emotions. Yeah. You can't have a tantrum. You can't have a screaming fit. You can't,
the individual.
Right. Exactly. You have to sit still, be seen, not heard. So it's, to me, you think the Easter bunnies to make kids happy and help them celebrate Easter or whatever, and you give them a little thing in the spring so they can get gifts. No. It's trauma on a stick is what it is.
100%.
A 6-foot Easter bunny coming into your house. That's trauma.
That's
Right.
trauma.
That is trauma. I remember driving by, I think it was last year around Easter, and this church out front had like a huge, like beach chair. And they had like a 6-7 foot stuffed Easter bunny. And I'm like, because they can't even make Jesus marketable. They got to put you're like, come hunt Easter eggs here, not to offend anyone at home. But yeah, I mean, I thought about that though, as I was driving by. I was like as a kid, you don't question it, because you're a kid and you're like, oh, I want candy, the Easter bunny, yada, yada, Same thing with Santa or the Tooth Fairy or leprechauns around St. Patrick's Day. But I was like, a huge bunny coming into my house and leaving chocolates is creepy.
Mm-hmm.
A huge man with a white beard coming into my house. We didn't have a chimney, y'all. We had a front door. Okay.
Yeah.
Creepy. And same thing for like the idea of like a leprechaun, like coming in and leaving gold. I don't know. It was just looking back at it as an adult, like it's definitely trauma. Like it's a way to keep you in line and make sure that you're behaving. And I think Krampus kind of falls in line with that.
Well, that's why I have mad respect for Krampus, because at least, he looks like trauma walking in the door. He's not hiding it behind fluffy ears or a white beard. He's like, bitch, here I am.
Unapologetically Krampus.
He's authentic. He's being his authentic self.
Now, I'm dating myself with this one, but even big bunnies can be very scary. I know we've all seen these old mall pictures of screaming, terrified children sitting on an Easter bunny lap, on a Santa's lap. I mean, yeah. You dangle the reward?
Yeah, exactly. Why do we always have to sit on people's laps? Like, as kids, it's like, and this is happy. I said sit, and it's like this framed photo of this like really scary, traumatic thing.
Right. This kid has had to go stiff with rage to try to get away from the evil Santa.
Exactly.
Good times.
So mall Krampus, where do we stand on that? I feel like that should be a thing where you
Definitely.
the kids visit Krampus, and then they're in there like shopping for things. If you don't sit down in this stroller and act like you got some damn sense, I'm gonna have your photo taken with Krampus. Like the clenched teeth. That would put the fear of God into me as a child. But no. I'll be good, Bath and Body Works. I'll be good,
I like that.
Have little like poster boards everywhere of like him looking around the corner.
A claw coming around the door.
Because you're a kid, as a kid, you're not going to pay that much attention. You're going to be, oh, there's Krampus.
Chandra and I are going to be his elves.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to sit on his lap.
Swing.
See his birch.
Oh, my Lord.
She likes big birches. She cannot lie.
So, any final thoughts on Krampus Christmas?
I think we all need to get outfits and roam the streets.
I agree.
We should start our own run.
We should.
Our Krampus run.
How fun would that be?
Through Oak Ridge.
Through Oak Ridge?
I don't like running. What about like a Krampus power walk? The prosecco power walk with Krampus.
I like that better.
Oh, I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I could do it real good with a couple of glasses of prosecco.
There you go. We'll take our shoes off, no problem, baby. You don't even have to leave fruit in them. Just take them off.
So thank you, listeners, because you now know what we're doing for Christmas.
On December 5th.
On December 5th. All right, guys. Well, this has been another episode of Ohm-g Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you soon.
Peace out, y'all.
Very happy Krampus Day to you all.
Merry Happy Krampus Day.
Behave so he doesn't come to your house.
With his wood.
Or don't, and he will. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please follow and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave a review. It's so easy to do and such a huge help for us. We appreciate your interactions so much. Want to join us at our table? Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and join our Facebook community. If you've enjoyed this content and wish to support us, take a look at our Patreon page. All information and links will be in our podcast description. Catch you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM. Women's voices amplified.